The whole world stopped tonight for a game. Streets empty, phones silent, conversations paused. Every bar, every living room, every family group chat suddenly alive with the same 90 minutes. And you felt nothing. Not contempt, not superiority, just a quiet, honest nothing. And somewhere in that nothing, you have always wondered if you are missing something fundamental about being human. You are not. But what you are is something psychology finds genuinely fascinating. This is not about whether football matters. It is not about who is right or who is missing out. It is about something far more personal. The specific psychology of a person whose brain was simply never captured by the thing that captures almost everyone else. And what that reveals about the way you think, the way you connect, the way you find meaning will change how you see yourself completely. To understand why some people don't feel football, you first need to understand why most people feel it so intensely. Because it is not just entertainment. Psychologists who study crowd behavior have found that football activates something ancient inside the human brain, something called coalitional psychology, the deeply wired instinct to belong to a tribe, to identify an enemy, to feel the survival of your group as your own survival. When your team scores, your brain releases dopamine as if you scored. When your team loses, your cortisol rises as if you were defeated. The brain does not distinguish between the player and the fan. It just feels we won, we lost, we survived. 90 minutes of football is not a game to the human nervous system. It is a simulation of tribal warfare. And here's what that means for you. Your brain simply does not run that simulation. And before you decide what that means, let me tell you what the research actually says. People whose brains don't respond to tribal sports psychology are not emotionally disconnected. They are not cold. They are not superior. They are not missing the social gene. They simply have what psychologists call a stronger individual identity structure, meaning their sense of self is built from the inside, not borrowed from the success of an external group. Think about what that means. While millions of people need their team to win to feel good about themselves, you never outsourced your self-worth to 11 strangers on a pitch. You always had to find it somewhere else, inside yourself, inside the things you actually built, inside the connections that were real, not private. In 1976, psychologist Robert Cialdini at Arizona State University conducted a now famous study on sports fan behavior. He discovered something he called BIRGing, Basking in Reflected Glory. After a team win, fans used the word we won, we played well, we dominated. After a loss, the same fans switched to they. They lost, they played terribly, they let everyone down. What Cialdini found was that sports fandom is fundamentally a self-esteem management system. People attach to teams because winning makes them feel better about themselves, and losing threatens their self-image, so they psychologically distance themselves from the defeat. Now, consider this. If you never needed a football team to manage your self-esteem, what does that tell you about where your self-esteem actually comes from? You have sat in rooms full of people whose entire emotional state depended on a scoreline. You have watched grown adults cry over a missed penalty, rage at a referee they will never meet, celebrate with strangers they will never see again. And you felt not judgment, but a genuine, quiet curiosity. What is it like to feel that about something you have no control over? Because your passion, when it arrives, is directed differently at things you can touch, ideas you can develop, people you actually know, work that carries your fingerprints. Your emotions are not smaller than theirs. They are just pointed at things that are actually yours. You have never screamed at a television, but you have stayed awake until 3 a.m. chasing something that mattered to you. You have felt your heart race over something you were building. You have known the specific joy of caring deeply about something that cared back. That is not absence of passion. That is passion that refused to be borrowed. In a world where collective emotion is the easiest way to feel connected, choosing not to participate in the most popular collective emotion of all, take something most people never develop, a self that stands without a crowd behind it, an identity that doesn't need a result on a Saturday to feel intact, a sense of meaning that was never for sale to the highest scoring team. You didn't opt out of football. You opted into something harder, the project of finding out who you actually are, without the crowd telling you, without the tribe deciding for you, without 90 minutes of someone else's effort standing in for your own. You never needed the beautiful game, because you were already playing a harder one. Football will always have its millions, its stadiums, its anthems, its moments that stopped the world, and none of that is wrong. But somewhere, in the quiet, while everyone else is watching, you have always been building something they will never see. A life constructed entirely from your own choices, your own passion, your own meaning, not inherited, not borrowed, entirely yours. One word in the comments, what you are passionate about instead of football, creating, reading, thinking, building, music. And think of the person who always disappears when the match starts, the one nobody quite understands, the one who is always somewhere more interesting in their own mind. Send this to them. They have been waiting for someone to finally get it.